facilitator. And I will let her introduce herself as well and turn it over to her.
Good morning. I hope everyone is doing well today. Hope everyone is staying safe and getting adjusted to what I guess we consider our new normal. So my name is Susan Miller Hendricks, and I teach honors forensics with NCVirtual. And I'm also, like she said, a district administrator in Robeson County. So I hope everyone can hear me. So today we are going to look at ways to increase activities after you've already started developing your modules. So our agenda is how to select tools that's going to increase student engagement in what is known as a virtual setting when you're not seeing these students face to face. How do you align these tools to the standards and objectives that you are teaching? And then I'm just going to give you some examples of some of the NCVirtual tools that I like and that I see used most often in the different courses. So before I begin, even though I'm going to be providing you with some different tools, I want you to know that NCVirtual is not endorsing or vetting any of these online tools, but they have compiled a resource list for your reference, and the link is there on this slide. So before we get started talking about the different courses, if you have questions, please post those in the chat. The moderator is going to be looking for question trends, and we'll be stopping periodically to answer some of those trends. However, if your question is not answered, we will be compiling a list of those questions, and we will be going through those more in depth during the office hours. So when you're talking about engaging students in a virtual world, you have to look at it as you've got to keep the students interacting with the material. If you put a PowerPoint or a Google slide presentation up there and expect the students to go through and just take notes, then students are going to become quickly unengaged in what they're doing. You want to make sure that your activities that you're doing with the students meet the needs of all the students. So you want to have things that are for your auditory learners. You want to have things that are for your visual learners. You want to have them manipulating things for your kinesthetics. And you want to make sure that your activities are aligned to the learning objective that you're trying to get across for that day. So some good guiding questions for when you're trying to pick good quality tech tools is this tool going to actually promote student learning? Is it going to become something that frustrates the student because it's hard to use or they can't figure it out? So you want simple things that the student can manipulate easily. Is the tool going to protect the privacy of both the students and the staff? You do not want to use anything that's going to require any of the students' personal information or require the student to set up any type of payment plan. So the tools that you're wanting to use should be things that the teacher creates and then shares with the students. And is the tool going to focus on educational advancement without exposing students to improper or inappropriate material? And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. So the first thing that I want to talk about as far as a tech tool is engaging text. Now we know when we look at Google Slides or when we look at a textbook, there are things that are bolded, there are things in larger print to capture the student's attention. But when you are looking at a computer screen over and over and over, these bolds and these bigger letters sometimes don't capture the attention of the students into what you want them to be seeing. So I like to use things like flaming text or glitterify text to actually draw the student's attention to what I want them to see. And as you can see from the screen, Shout Out was created using flaming text. It gives them a good 3D image. It can be something that scrolls across the screen. And then glitterify text, as you can see, it sparkles for the students. So if I have something that I really want the students to pay attention to, I will put the key terms using one of these two text formats. Both of these are free sites to use. You're creating it, so there's no copyright violation with any of these, both of these tech tools. And I teach science, so we know that science is heavily, heavily dependent on vocabulary. And in the classroom, when you're seeing students face-to-face, we know that having students write the words and the definition is not really effective in them learning those words and learning those words in context. So what I do is I actually use the website Quizlet. I create flashcards with the definition that I want the students to know that matches with that term. And then I take these Quizlets that I've created and I actually embed them into my lesson for the students to actually get to practice in the lesson. The students do not have to go to another website. The students don't have to do anything, but they can practice those flashcards right there on that computer screen. They can do time races with other students to see who can match the terms and the definition the quickest. So again, a good interactive thing that you have students doing using those key vocabulary terms that you want them to know. So I'm going to pause for a minute and see if there are any questions from the moderator at this time that we need to address.
Hi, Susan. So a couple of people have asked, where do you find these tools and how do you add them to your page?
Well, most of these tools have been things that have been shared with me over time, and you can add them to your page either through a link, but you can also add them through embedding, especially in Canvas or Google Classroom. So as far as how to embed, I can go through that more in an office hour, where I can have a smaller group and actually take you step by step how to embed these into those different platforms.
Thank you, Susan. And that's really about the only question we've had so far regarding it. Okay. And someone had also put in the chat where they found flaming text at the URL. So
okay. Okay, so we will continue then. The next resource that I'm going to share is something that I used in the classroom with face-to-face learning, but I also love it in a virtual world as well, and it's called ThingLink. And you can Google ThingLink and it will take you to the page where you sign up. It is a free resource. It is a digital tool that can turn any image into an interactive graphic. So as you can see, this is an image of the rock cycle, which is something that we teach over and over in both middle school and high school science. And you can embed videos into this image, which is what the button here is for. And so the students then, when they click on that, it plays a video that discusses the rock cycle. And that video can be something that I created myself and from another resource. And then each one of those red and white dots is something that's going to take that student to a different part of that lesson. So it may be that it takes the student to something that's talking about metamorphic rocks. And then another link may take them to sedimentary. Another link may take them to processes in the rock cycle. So again, the students see that one image, but your entire lesson is then created for them. And this can be embedded both in the learning platform or shared with Google Classroom so that the students can get their entire lesson just from this one link. Now, I also like for students to create these. So students can then go in and create their own thing link. They can do this for projects, and then they can share it with you as a teacher. So it's something that you're getting to see that the students understand the material by having them create a thing link. We know that in the face-to-face classrooms, we do a lot of short videos. And as a teacher in the classroom, we have that ability to hit that pause button and ask some questions, just to make sure that the students are paying attention. But when you're in a virtual world, sometimes that's a little bit more difficult. So Edpuzzle is basically a platform that allows you to take videos from TeacherTube, TED Talks, even YouTube, and put them in this platform. And then you can go through that video and you can stop it periodically, and you can actually embed questions that the students then have to answer. So it gives them that break that they have to stop. It will not let them go on with that video until they answer those questions. So if the student was not paying attention, they then have to go back and rewatch the beginning of that video in order to answer that question to move on to the next part. So again, you take a video, it's very simple, step-by-step, tells you how to embed the video into your Edpuzzle. It tells you how to make the breaks, how to add the questions, and then once you have finished, it tells you how to share that to your platform. The next thing that I want to talk about is it should be something that is starting to be familiar with North Carolina teachers, and it is the Go Open NC account. This was created by the North Carolina Department of Public Instructions along with their digital teaching and learning. And what they have done is they have come and they have collected tons and tons of resources for teachers in this one place that can be sorted by standard, it can be sorted by content, it can be sorted by grade level. And all of these resources are not in any violation of copyright. All of these resources can be utilized by teachers, shared with students. They can even be manipulated and changed to meet each individual student's needs. Again, without violating copyright, because that was part of the requirement for the Go Open. Now, every single teacher that teaches through a North Carolina public school can access these resources just by logging into their NC Ed Cloud account, their IAM account, same thing that they do for checking the attendance, and there should be an icon for Go Open NC. Now, there are tons and tons of resources. Some of them are better than others. So when you use this, go through the resource yourself before you share it with your students, because some of it is not as good as others. So again, but there's tons and tons of resources that can be used for teachers on this site. Okay, we're going to pause again to see if there are any other emerging questions that are coming up.
Yes, thank you, Susan. So again, I will emphasize what Susan had said earlier, which is she can go over more information about how to embed items into a page during office hours. So there has been a couple requests for that. Wanted to let you know that, Susan. Okay. And also 2 questions or 2 items about 2 of the different resources you've shared. Let's start with Edpuzzle. So for Edpuzzle, someone would like to know, how are the student responses reported to the teacher?
The student responses, when they type it in, because you've created it and you've stopped it, so you get a sheet of the student answers when they stop and answer those questions.
Great, thank you. Another question about Edpuzzle. Do students need an account, or can you simply share the link in Google Classroom or what other platform they're using?
You simply share the link, and when they start it, they type in their name. That's how you will know who's answered what questions, but they do not have to create an account to use it.
Perfect, thank you. And then the last question is about the ThingLink resource. Someone asked, is it free to publish?
Yes, yes, it is free. Now you can get more premiums, which means you can add more things to it. But the basic one, which allows you a certain number of icons that you can place, is free.
Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome. Okay. The next tool that I'm going to talk about is Pixton. We know in the classroom we do a lot of having students create their own comic strips. This gives us an assessment sometimes, gives us an indication of whether the students are understanding the material, and it also allows students to develop a little bit of creativity as well. Now, Pixton is a comic strip creation site that will allow students to both make and share their comic strips. Again, the teacher will go in and establish a classroom site, which will generate a code that she shares with the students. And then the students can go in and enter that code, and it keeps everything within that teacher site, and it gives them the opportunity to create their comic strip that they then can share with the teacher virtually, or they can share with the teacher. They can screenshot it if, for whatever reason, if it doesn't load to the teacher. But again, it allows them to something different that they're doing with the material other than just taking notes. Padlet. Padlet is something that probably many teachers have heard, probably many teachers have used. I like to use Padlet lots of times either for discussion with students, and in this case, I would post it into my lesson and then have students post while we're going through things that we could then respond back to while we're going through the lesson. But I also use Padlet lots of times as an exit ticket. We know that many times in the classroom, we do the Post-it notes as they're going out the door. This is the same thing. You can create a Padlet. It can be on a topic. It can be on what did you learn today. It can be on a 3, 2, 1. And students then take and they create their little sticky note and they post it to the Padlet. So a good resource still to help the students be engaged in their learning. Quick, short activities, formative assessments, gives you immediate feedback, gives you a chance to address, did the students learn it, did the students not learn it, how do I need to reteach it? So just a quick, simple way to help those students with that classroom activity. And another good formative assessment for teachers is something that's referred to as the answer garden. And this is something that the teacher creates and they post the link for it. And the students then post to that link. Now, this could be a good formative assessment for a teacher because they can post their learning objective, their essential question for the day at the end of class. And when students answer that question, then you start seeing words populate on your answer garden. And the bigger the words get, or the more students that responded with the same answer. So you plan a question, you grow an answer. So really it becomes that quick assessment for the teacher is, are the students getting this information correctly? If they're not, and you start seeing misconceptions, then it then tells the teacher, what do I need to do differently because they didn't get it? So again, it becomes a Wordle for the teacher, but it becomes a good visual for the student as well, because then all of a sudden they're starting to see exactly what they've learned during that class time. So it's good for real-time audience participation. It's good for brainstorming. If you're wanting them to brainstorm a topic, you can have them putting in ideas. And it's also good for some of that classroom feedback as well. Again, Answer Garden is free to use, and it's something that you can share into your Google Classroom or into Canvas. So as we're starting to kind of wrap up some of these tools that we've been talking about, we're looking at what are some of these best practices when selecting digital tools. What are some things that you definitely need to keep in mind? And again, the main thing is you can't require students to create anything, and you definitely don't want them to have to create something where they're going to share any type of personal information. You want the learning tool to promote student engagement. And again, the more interactive it is, the more the students then are kind of forced to participate, and the more engaged they become. You really don't want a lot of advertising. You don't want any third-party advertising coming in, and you definitely don't want any inappropriate content. I think that's been the big thing with YouTube, is the reason why so many schools and districts no longer allow YouTube. Is not because YouTube is not good, because there are lots and lots of great educational resources on YouTube. But YouTube, when you type in that first video into YouTube, it pops up a generation of other videos that you may like. And many times those videos are not appropriate. So that's the whole premise behind YouTube. But if you do use a YouTube video in Edpuzzle, again, that does away with that, those popping up. If you also embed a YouTube video into, I know with Canvas, it keeps it from popping up because the video itself is housed within that learning platform, and it doesn't allow the students to go out actually to YouTube. So you also, when you're looking at tools, is you want to make sure you are not violating any of the FERPA rules. Again, you're not providing any student grades out there. You're not providing any personal student identifying information. You want to make sure that if there are any age restrictions on any of these tools, that you are talking with parents. Most of those that I shared today, I think most of those are all appropriate for both middle school or high school. You want to make sure that these tools are going to accommodate all your learners. So if you do have students with special needs or need accommodations, if this tool doesn't allow it, then you need to find an alternative tool, or you need to make those accommodations in that tool for that student to use. You want to make sure that they can be used in various browsers, because we never know what our students may be working with, whether it's Google Chrome or whether it's Safari, but we want to make sure that these tools can be accessible through any of those. And again, you want to make sure that you're not violating any of the copyright laws, and that's why a lot of these tools were things that I created myself. And that way I knew that I was not going to be violating anything regarding copyright. And the Go Open NC are all resources that have already been vetted against copyright issues. So the big thing is, if you're using any images, especially with like ThingLink, you will want to make sure that the image that you're starting out with for your platform is an image that has an open license that allows you to use it. And Creative Commons is a great place to find those that can be shared through ThingLink as well. And you want to make sure that whatever tech tool or whatever activity that you're doing is promoting digital citizenship and teaching kids how to be technologically aware of that environment that they're in. So I have provided my contact information. I will be glad to answer any questions that you may have, or if you just need to reach out to me, this is my email along with my cell phone information, and you are more than welcome to call and text. And I will be happy to help in any way that I can, because I know this is something new for a lot of teachers, and I know that it's something that we're all in together. So I will stop again to see if there are any additional questions I need to address.
Thank you, Susan. So just a little bit of housekeeping. We will have an archive session posted on our website, and you will receive CE Youth based on the email address that you registered for this session with. They will be sent there. A certificate of participation, I should say. And so we will put the website in our chat for where you can follow up for the archive of this presentation, as well as to register for other sessions. So a lot of questions about each of the tool when you presented each one about, is it free and does it provide a link? So I believe you answered that question for all of them, that yes, all of the ones that you have shared have been free. Is that correct, Susan?
That is correct. And with all of them, you can either provide a link or you can embed within Canvas or you can share to your Google Classroom.
Great. And in regards to embedding a link or sharing a link or embedding, someone asked earlier, which one do you recommend doing?
I am a firm believer in embedding, especially in Canvas, simply because anything that's embedded is housed within that Canvas platform. If you give a link to a student, then that takes them to that website. And again, I know in a face-to-face classroom, you try to limit the number of websites that students are going to because they also go on other websites. So I like to embed things because it keeps them right there within that learning platform.
Thank you. And you may not know the answer to this question. I'm assuming the answer is yes, but I don't use Google Classroom myself. I'm not sure if you do either, Susan, but people are asking, can you embed in Google Classroom?
I'm not sure if you can embed the same way you can in Canvas, but you can share to Google Classroom. And I think if you share it, it's almost like embedding in Canvas.
All right. And we've got some participant answers in the chat as well. So if you are familiar with Google Classroom and you'd like to share your expertise in the chat, please do. This is a very collaborative environment and we all learn from each other. I've seen some good connections going on in the chat, other people that teach the same thing and they're reaching out to each other. So we highly encourage that. So a question regarding Answer Garden. So someone asked, is Answer Garden only for live instruction and can you see who posts?
It does not, when they post, it is anonymous for the student. So that way there's no worry about, well, I put the wrong answer. I do not even believe it gives the teacher the information. It basically just creates that Wordle, that visual for the teacher and the student that they can see the answer that is generated most often. It gets bigger and bigger on the screen. But no, it does not tell. So there's no fear of students to put in the wrong answer.
And I believe you had shared in your presentation that it doesn't have to be used just for live instruction. Like they can use it for brainstorming and things like that asynchronously. Is that correct?
That is correct. It doesn't have to be something that you're doing right then. You just share the link and then you can check in on it periodically and see how students have posted. But again, it becomes a quick visual for the teacher.
Great. And then some conversation going on when you were talking about YouTube, and someone asked if you could embed a YouTube in Google Classroom and not get the inappropriate videos. Someone suggested using TeacherTube as well as SaveShare to get rid of videos popping up at the end, but didn't know if you wanted to address that as well.
Yes, TeacherTube definitely addresses that issue. And if you're in Canvas, I'm not sure with the Google Classroom if you can embed that video like you can in Canvas. But when you embed that video in Canvas, when it pops up on that page, the video is right there and the students watch it right there. They never have to leave that site. So it restricts any other YouTube videos from coming in. They see that one, when it ends, it ends. But if you put it into a platform like Edpuzzle, it also does away with the other videos popping up as well. And then in Edpuzzle, you can share to your Google Classroom.
Great. And then the last question that I saw, and there's lots of conversation going on in the chat, but I haven't seen any other questions that haven't been addressed. When you were talking about images and where to find some good images, you had mentioned Creative Commons, but didn't know if you wanted to expand on that any.
Well, we know that lots of times when you Google an image, when it pops up lots of images, but all those images are not free for teachers to use. And you can go in and start restricting it by looking at the different license and licensing requirements. And then you can narrow it down. But I know that Creative Commons is a place where all those images are free for public use. They have all been embedded or vetted to be used by any person that needs them. Most of them you're not changing, but they are there for you to use. So Creative Commons is usually the first place that I go to if I don't create the image myself. And lots of times what I do is I just will take my own pictures, or I'll use things, or I'll draw something just to make sure that nothing that I'm using is violating any type of copyright.
Great, thank you. Like I said, that was the last chat. That was the last question I saw. I'll dig through the chat to see if there are any other questions. All right, you've got a lot of people thanking you for your time and sharing the resources. Did have someone ask a question. They're preparing a PowerPoint to post in Canvas. When I try to insert a video from YouTube, it does not allow me. Could you tell me what I can do?
So can you repeat that question?
Absolutely. Let me see. I am preparing a PowerPoint to post in Canvas. When I try to insert a video from YouTube, it does not allow me. Could you tell me what I can do?
Okay, are they putting a link in the PowerPoint, or are they putting the actual video? Because I'm not really as familiar with PowerPoint embedding videos, but if you use a Google slide presentation, you can actually embed videos a lot easier in Google Slide, and then you can actually pull up your Google Slide presentation actually in the Canvas platform.
Great. So Google Slides might be something that you can do. They did not say exactly how they were trying to put the YouTube video in, but that's a great suggestion of using Google Slides. Someone asked, what's the difference between embedding and applying a link?
When you embed, it actually shows up on that page or that screen instead of just that link that they have to click to take them somewhere else. When you embed and you pull it up, that video is right there ready to go, and all the student has to do is click the play button. They don't have to go anywhere else to access it.
Someone else is asking, how do you embed? And again, I will emphasize that Susan had said that she could cover embedding in some of her office hours, because you will have to use an embed code, which is provided typically by the resource. And then you'd have to apply that to whatever resource you're putting it inside of. So a little one-on-one might be a better place for that.
Yes, because
Yeah.
it's more of a step-by-step process, and I don't want to do that and then lose some teachers that are like, oh, I don't want to do that. But that would be good for a shorter session with a smaller group.
Someone is asking, does embedding work only with videos, or would it work with a Scholastic news magazine also?
It would depend on what type of sharing capabilities that Scholastic had. And that would be something that you'd have to look at individually once I show you how to look for the embed codes in an item.
So in other words, it really depends on the resource. Do they provide the embed code for you?
Right.
Again, we've had someone ask about the recording. Yes, we will have the recording and we'll provide it on our website, as well as, I believe, when you receive your certificate of participation, the recording may be included in that as well. But I've put the link in the chat to our webpage that will have all of our resources regarding our webinars located there. We have a question from the chat asking, what do you use for warm-ups?
Lots of times with warm-ups with in a virtual classroom, what I would do is I would do a really kind of like the Ed puzzle. I would do a short video clip and then have a couple questions they'd have to answer regarding it. Or it could be like a Padlet where you have a question up there and then they respond to it as they come in and check it.
Someone is asking about Google Classroom, and so I will refer you to our page that I put in the chat, and let me put it again, to look at our webinar sessions to see if we have any specifically on Google Classroom. I believe, Susan, you mentioned that I know I don't use Google Classroom, and I don't think you said you do either. Is that correct?
I have worked with people that have used it tremendously, but I'm more of Canvas and more familiar with Canvas.
Okay, great. Someone asked if they had someone do something on paper, would they be able to submit it in Google Classroom? Yep, and Amber is putting in the chat that we have a section on Google Classroom and has linked to our page. Thank you, Amber. And those participants that use Google Classroom are putting in some answers and regarding questions about Google Classroom. So again, we really appreciate the collaborative nature of these webinars. We can all learn from each other. So we thank you for that. And again, all of our archive sessions, which would include the chat, would be available at our website after we have saved everything and had a chance to post them. The question is, will Susan have any more resources on this webinar? So at this time, we are just taking questions and answers. All right, so we have many that are, I believe, looks like they're probably jumping out. They're thanking you for your time. Yes, if you have no questions, you are free to exit the webinar at any time. If you do have a question, please feel free to put it in the chat. Someone has also in the chat said that they like to use Kahoot, and someone else put, I'm not quite sure what that is, GlamKit maybe. I'm not quite sure what that resource is, but I've listed that in the chat. But if you have a question, please feel free to put it in the chat and we'd be happy to answer it if we can. Someone has asked a question about recording a Zoom lesson from a Chromebook.
Okay, I'm thinking the host of a Zoom lesson can record it from even from a Chromebook if they have the Zoom app. But that would be more of a tech question.
Thank you, Susan. Not sure if we have anyone from technology in the room to answer that question or not. That's certainly something you could try. I know that the host can record sessions, so but I have not used the Chromebook on it myself either. Someone is suggesting, one of our staff members is suggesting, maybe if the Zoom room is set to auto record when open, that might be a solution. Someone is asking, is there a user-friendly method to create individual class sections instead of copying and pasting each student's user ID? I'm not sure if there's a particular tool you're asking about that for. For Canvas. All right. Again, that probably would be a technology question. And again, I don't know if we have anyone from technology in the room to answer that. Let's see, why might my students have issues viewing PowerPoints I have embedded in Canvas?
It may be how it's set up, but with Canvas, the good thing about Canvas is you can go into student view and then you can actually see it the way the student sees it. So that's always a good thing when you're creating lessons in Canvas. Click into that student view, observe it. That way you can kind of troubleshoot some of the problems, and it may end up providing you the answer by doing that student view.
All right. Let's see, I saw another question. Let me see if I can scroll back and find it. What would you recommend as a way to record a message to put on Canvas for your students?
As far as you wanting to record a lesson or something for the students, Screencastify or Screencast is a great tool that allows you to record your screen. So lots of times if I'm doing something, especially if I'm doing a Google slide presentation or a PowerPoint, and I want to make sure that those students that maybe are visually impaired, I will record it and have the slides up there, but I will actually record my voice through Screencastify. And it is an add-on for Google Chrome.
Someone asked, they're wondering if you have ever used an app called Loom, L-O-O-M.
I have not. I've seen that popping up here lately, but I have not used that one.
And someone else has asked if anyone in attendance has used learning.com resources. They are accessed through the NC Cloud Ed link, just like Go Open NC.
I have not used those either.
Someone asked, does Screencastify work in the same way that Vidyard does?
I'm not sure what the alternate was, but Screencastify, basically it shows your screen and it records your voice. So it's not showing you at all, but it is just showing whatever you have on your screen and allows you to talk through that. So if you're doing a lesson for the students, you can show that, and you can they can hear you actually speaking it.
Thank you. And someone asked, what do you think about creating and using Prezi presentations for learning activities?
I like Prezis, and they can be put into Canvas real easily. I'm not sure about the Google Classroom part on that one. A lot of students, though, say that Prezis make them dizzy because it's the moving back and forth. But again, it is something different, and it is something that I would alternate. If you're doing lessons, you know, don't do PowerPoints every day, do a Prezi here, do a video here, just something so that you're not doing the same thing every day.
Someone asked if Screencastify limits to 5 minutes.
I am not sure. I know I've recorded longer than 5 minutes, but, and I have a free account.
Again, great collaboration going on in the chat. And here we have another question talking about Powtoon. Do you know what is the longest duration in the free version?
With Powtoon or Pixton?
Powtoon is what they put in the chat.
Okay, because I'm not sure about Powtoon. I use Pixton. Powtoon lots of times will ask for a student to create an account. And so I usually use Pixton because then I create it as a teacher and I just share the code with the students.
Is that Pixton?
Yes.
Okay, I'll put that in the chat. Marty is asking if we can see or hear. I believe the participants in the room can chat. I don't know if they can use their audio. Thank you, Melissa. Melissa has said no mic access for the participants, so only the chat feature. And we have just a few more minutes for this session. So if you have a question, if you could go ahead and type that in the chat so we can take the next few minutes to answer, that would be great. Amber Parker, I'm not sure if, thank you very much. Marty, Amber has answered your question in the chat. So last call for questions. All right, so just some housekeeping items. Again, you will receive a certificate of participation. It will come via email, the email that you used to register for this webinar session. And I'm also putting in the chat a link to our page, our digital transition page, where you can sign up for other webinars and access archives and things like that from other sessions. I would like to thank Susan for presenting this webinar today. And again, she will have office hours, and I will share some of these questions that have been asked that are better answered in a smaller setting like the office hours will be, such as embedding, so that she knows that that's a big hot topic, but I'll share with her the other questions as well, so she can help to use those to guide her office hours for you. Again, you will receive a certificate of participation based on the email that you used to register for this session, and you can always take a look at our website for more exciting things going on with webinars and office hours with NCVPS. Susan, I'll turn it over to you to thank everyone and say goodbye. But I don't see any other questions, so I think we are closing up.
Okay, well, I do appreciate you taking your time today to learn some new tech tools. And as you go through this, remember I'm here because we are all in this together and we will get through this. So enjoy your day. Again, I hope everyone is doing well and stay safe. Thank you.